Hi everyone, I'm George Farrar and welcome aboard the first of 4 History Jacksonville special presentations that will broadcast through the summer of 2021. I'm speaking to you on November 27th, 2020, and this is a salute to the United States Navy, specifically NAS Jacksonville. And I have a lot to bring you. I have a lot to show you. We have a lot of history when we think of the U.S. Navy in Jacksonville. And I have a personal history, and I have my own stories to tell. My father was in the United States Navy. My grandfather was, a couple uncles, and an aunt. And I can remember years ago, even before this picture was taken, of seeing the Blue Angels jet in front of the base. The Blue Angels, NAS Jax, was the birthplace of the Blue Angels Flight Demonstration Squadron. Now here we see planes flying over downtown Jacksonville. If you take a look towards the bottom of the picture, you'll see the old forewarned drawbridge. This would have been in the early 1990s, right after they had tore down the old Acosta Bridge and built the new one. So think of aviation, right? But think of one thing as I talk about all of this with you. In 2019, the United States Navy was the largest employer in Jacksonville, specifically the Naval Air Station. Lots of people in Jacksonville work for the United States Navy to support the efforts to defend our freedom at home and abroad. And so when you think of all the people that it takes to run just one military base, when we just look at NAS Jacksonville, we're talking about administrative, healthcare, security, aviation, maintenance, training. Naval Air Station Jacksonville was commissioned on October 15th, 1940. And, of course, so much was happening in 1940 with World War II happening and our entry into World War II being not that far away. On March 20th, 1941, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt toured the $25 million Naval Air Station Jacksonville on this day. According to the Florida Times-Union, there was no equivocation in the clear ring of his voice when he stated that he found the station perfectly fine. Captain Charles P. Mason, the base commanding officer, accompanied the commander-in-chief. And we have a couple pictures from that day. There's President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the presidential limousine. We can see the sailors alongside. Interestingly, I can recall those style of buildings way back in my younger years. I'm thinking 5 or 6 years old. Seeing those buildings, not those specific ones, but that type of architecture still being around on the base. I remember particularly as a real little kid going to the nursery. All right, so you have to think about this because it's March 1941, and guess what happens on December 7th, 1941? The Japanese attack Pearl Harbor, and we enter World War II. So President Franklin Roosevelt is touring this new, modern facility that is just getting off the ground, all right, just getting things going so far as what was going to be called upon it to do, and that is to really be a place for aviation in the area. And so when you take a look at it, you see the military uniform people, dignitaries, reporters, and the captain. And I would point out, of course, that President Roosevelt did have a disability. He had polio, but of course I consider him to have been one of the strongest presidents that we ever had. Now, in the 1940s, early 1940s, Hitler had, the German dictator Hitler had invaded into Europe. And he had taken over, among other countries, had taken over France. And in the distance, you see French military. They were training at NAS Jacksonville in the 1940s. Now, I want to point out that, of course, Jacksonville has the U.S. Naval Station Mayport that was commissioned in December 1942. Aircraft fleet, they have their own airfield as well. And then also in our past, of course, I, as a former West Side resident, vividly remember Cecil Field in operation. It started out as an auxiliary field working in tandem with NAS Jax. And so in the 1940s in its own right really developed and then was decommissioned in 1999. Now let's take a look at some interesting depictions of Naval Air Station Jacksonville in the 1940s. Here we see the main gate, and we see the distinctive front gate building that I know I remember growing up. And here we see a chow line. It's important to remember that throughout all of this, people that were at Naval Air Station Jacksonville were supporting, in their own way, in the Navy's missions to fight in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Operation Desert Storm, Afghanistan, Iraq, and all other military operations. The Navy has quite a footprint in Jacksonville, particularly on the west side. Think about Roosevelt Boulevard. There even at one point was a small town called Yukon, directly to the left of the base. I remember seeing a post office that said Yukon, Florida. Now, here we see a 1950s era view of the main gate, including the jet in the front and what we generally know of kind of as the way things started to develop. We see the runway. We see, again, reminding you that such wide expanse and wide impact the Navy had, particularly on the west side of Jacksonville. Also keeping in mind that up until 1999, working with Cecil Field, and then of course there's always Mayport to the north. And so when you think about aviation, flyboys, jetting, and you think of all of the thrill people must have encountered flying over Jacksonville throughout history, I mean, it had to have been thrilling. And NAS Jax was the birthplace of the Blue Angels in April of 1946. Their first air show was in July of 1946. And so people would enjoy air shows. And so the sight of airplanes, military aircraft, the sights and sounds, when you think about that over the years. Now we'll see two views of Naval Air Station Jacksonville in 1967 in the Vietnam War era. As we take a look at these views, I want to let you know something special. I was born at the Naval Hospital at Naval Air Station Jacksonville in the 1970s. My father had retired from the Navy. He had trained in San Diego. He had been stationed in the 1960s in Treasure Island, California, and later on in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and he settled in Jacksonville along with other various members of my family in the 1970s, and along came I. And I was born in this building. Here we have a 1967 view of the Naval Hospital. Of course, now we know it with a lot of appendages and wings, and it doesn't look anything quite like this. And I now want to take a moment to express my deepest thanks to the people, the professionals, the doctors and nurses that made my birth possible. It was a difficult birth. It was not a normal birth. It was a difficult birth. And it's because things went well that here I am in the year 2020 talking with you about where I was born. I enjoyed such great fringe benefits, essentially, being able to visit the Navy base for my health care as a kid up until my teen years. And I would enjoy things like the exchange, the commissary as a youngster, the toy store, seeing the church with the really unique, distinctive architecture, and being just off the river. So there would be times there would be emergencies and have to go into the emergency room. And the sound of those electronic swinging doors opening and closing between the emergency room and the waiting room. And the cafeteria of the hospital. And the yellow jacketed folder that had your records in it. One day, as I knew I was about to be my last time at the hospital, I actually had a chance to review it. Sat in the lobby, reviewed it, and then handed it back, and that was it. Nothing was really on computer back then. You know, great doctors, great nurses. They took good care of us at the family practice clinic. I made it through some things. And when you think about the fact that the Navy has had such a huge impact on the development of the city, and you think about what every single minute of every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop, all the military operations that the people of Jacksonville support. It says a lot about the community. And when you think about the years that have gone by and the commitment throughout all of history from the 1940s forward, all the different changes, military conflicts, throughout it all, the people of Jacksonville have contributed through their labor valuable support to our nation's defense. And that is something incredibly honorable. And I even can say that in my financial services work, that I did work for the United States Navy. So, as we see people coming and going, maybe this was the late 70s, maybe this was the early 80s, but this is definitely of the time frame when I would have been coming and going as a kid through the main gate. It's an amazing life that I had in Jacksonville. And I have so many more stories to tell you and to bring you. So I'll have 3 more History Jacksonville specials coming at you through 2021. And I'll have even more with our Jacksonville Year by Year series. Stay tuned for Jax 89 later this year. Take it easy. See you later. Let me know what you think, and please feel free to share and subscribe. Take care. Goodbye.